I'm here outside the brand new Hard Rock in Bristol, Virginia, where they have a new poker room, and I'm going to check that one out and play for a few hours. And my main focus today is on trying to win money without having the best hand. So let's get in and see how I can do this. So I sit down at a brand new table and I'm in middle position and I look down at King 10 of spades. Obviously I open it up to $10, the small blind and the big blind call. The flop comes Queen 9-5, 2 clubs, 1 spade. It's not the best board in the world for a c-bet against 2 players, but we have position, we do have an open-ender, we do have a backdoor flush draw, and we do have an overcard. So with all these things, I think it's fine to just go about half pot, which is what I did. I bet $15, the small blind folded and the big blind called. And now the queen pairs on the turn. And this is an inflection point, and at this point I was thinking like the big blind is being lost to act both pre-flop and on the flop. I think that he probably isn't super strong. Obviously, he could have a queen, he could be trapping with a boat now, but when he checks to me here, I think that if I go around pot, I can get him to fold an ace high or a 9 or a 5 or some small pocket pair, and if he calls, I still, as I said, I still have a lot of outs going for me, so I bet 55 and he quickly lets it go, which is a good start. This next hand is a very interesting one, and I'm inclined to say please don't copy me, you'll see why. But first to the facts. We have pocket 3s on the button, there is a limp, we could just limp behind, but I don't really want to play a multi-way pot in a high rake environment when I could have the initiative. Although there is nothing wrong with calling, there's nothing wrong with folding, I decided to raise this one up to 15 with my pocket 3s, and the big blind and the limper both called. The flop is ace 10-5 with 2 hearts, 1 diamond. It's not the best c-bet flop in the world, but I do think I can represent the ace in this spot. I am the pre-flop aggressor and I just went for a range bet here, 15 into a pot of 45, and the big blind folds but the limper calls. And now look at this turn, it's bittersweet. It is a 3 giving us a set, but it also is a heart, which means that the flush comes in, which is not ideal. First of all, he could have a flush, and secondly, he might now not commit a lot of stacks, a lot of pots in, a lot of stacks, a lot of pots, no, a lot of chips into the pot, because he might be afraid of the flush. But I have to go for value here, so I go 30 into the pot of 75, and he insta shoves for his remaining $139. So he's not super deep, but I was really in the blender here. So as you know, in live low stakes poker, players usually have it when they do this. And what does having it mean? Well, probably not top pair when the flush comes out, not even a set. So this is really either a bluff, which is quite rare, or it is a flush. Now the thing is, I just, for some reason, I didn't really believe him that he had the flush in this spot, even though everything screamed that he had it, the way he played it. But then I thought, would he really check jam here with the made flush there? It kind of seemed a bit fishy. I did the maths there. I had to be good about 30 something percent of the time. I was only good 20% of the time if he has the flush, but I thought there is enough margin of error there in like him having a bluff at least 10-15% of the time for me to make this profitable. Also, I wanted to show everyone that I do call down there, so I did flick in the call, and he shows 8-5 offsuit with the 8 of hearts, so he was basically drawing super thin there, and we actually flopped, or we rivered a boat, and we shipped this one, so first big one goes our way. In this next hand we have 2 limpers, and I make it 25 on the button with pocket 7s, not realizing that one of the limpers was quite short stacked. He only started the hand with around $130. But as I said, I make it 25. The limper with $130 in his stack, he calls, the other player gets out of the way. The flop comes 6-6-4, 2 hearts, 1 club, this is not a bad flop for my exact hand. I'm probably ahead here, so I just go half pot here, and he quickly calls. And then on the turn we get a rainbow 5, which means now we have an open-ended straight draw. We have an overpair, although not one to be very proud of, and he's only got $80 behind. There is already $100 in the pot. There's nothing else to do for me than to shove here. I don't want to check and allow him to realize some equity. If we are beat, we still have quite a few outs, unless he has a boat, of course, but we are still drawing to an open-ender if he happens to have a 6 or an overpair that he was slow playing. So I just shove and he folds, so I take another one. If you want to improve your live poker game, the best way to start is by learning how to exploit your opponents. I've created a free little ebook that teaches you exactly how to exploit every player at your table. You can get it for free, just click the link in the description below. In this next one, under the gun limps, we have a7 suited in the hijack. It is a bit loose to raise to $15 in the spot, but I did it because, as we can see, there is a theme developing. This table is quite tight and I can almost run over it. So I raise it up to 15, and the small blind and the limper both call. Now the flop comes king 5-3 rainbow. We don't even have a backdoor flush draw. Well, we have one overcard and we have a backdoor straight draw, but because of the way this has played so far, and we can definitely represent the king, it's unlikely that one of them has a king. I just continue here with a bet on the flop, and both players quickly fold, and we get another one through. So sadly, this tight table broke, so I got moved to another table, and this is a very interesting hand now. It's not a big showdown by any means, but just something that a lot of players do wrong. That's why I've included it here. So the cutoff makes it $15. Everyone folds. I am in the big blind with ace deuce suited. Now, normally, if you look up GTO charts, this is an easy call with ace deuce suited there, but he made it 5 times the big blind when he raised there, and I do realize that in live poker this is a very normal raise size, but that doesn't mean that you should just blindly call only because it is a normal raise size. You're getting a pretty poor price here. You're playing out of position against someone who is unknown to me in this moment, so I really don't want to be involved in this pot. So just fold. This is what I did here. Move on to the next hand. Don't sweat it. This next one is a very interesting one. I raise ace-king to $15 over a limper, and then the small blind calls and the limper gets out of the way. When then the flop comes 10-8-5 rainbow, I could check in this spot, especially because it kind of hits his range very hard, but I went for the standard range bet that I usually make in position when I'm heads up. So I went for $15 and he quickly calls. Now the 10 pairs on the turn, making it less likely that he has a 10. And in the previous hand you saw me, like in the first one in the session, you saw me bet big on the turn when the queen paired. But I think this is a bit different. First of all, I have more showdown value with my ace-king, and secondly, the 10 hits his range more than the queen did previously, and I don't think I can necessarily get him off even a second pair in this case, because I would really be saying that I have a 10 if I go big in this spot. So I checked behind, and now the river is a deuce and he checks again, and at this point I was thinking of going for the bluff here again, but then I thought I still have showdown value. So if he called there with 9-7, Jack-9, Jack-7, Queen-9, all of those hands will lose against me. So now I don't need to really bluff this river. He's never folding a 10, and I don't think he'll fold any other pair either unless I go really big, and there's just no need to go really big. So I check behind and he shows 10-6 of clubs. Well, what does this tell us? Well, first of all, he called $15 out of the small blind pre-flop with 10-6 suited, and then he played it super passively. On this river, he probably went for the check raise, I imagine, but he did not lead for value there. He was hoping that I would bluff, and great job, I didn't. And so we'll keep this in mind for the next hand against him.